I have played many quality games since I first played Red Dead Redemption 2 almost 4 years ago, with some containing some of the best stories and worlds out there in gaming. But despite all that time, there's something about the game that keeps it constantly in the rotation of my mind, and it is consistently in the conversation as my favorite game of all time. Red Dead Redemption 2 heralds the very best of gaming, and it is a testament to the medium as a whole and how its evolution has produced media that is as good or even better than some of the best films and books out there. Red Dead Redemption 2 still to this day lands in a spot of its own, unmatched by any other game in its genre, remaining as a masterclass in game development and an absolute revolution of the gaming landscape. So despite the consistent evolution of games into the 2020s, Red Dead Redemption 2 sits in a place of its own, on the peak of the mountain that is gaming as a whole. Through the years, I have played and consumed many other games of all types of genres and styles. Games such as Cyberpunk 2077 and the Mass Effect series relay a certain type of immersion that is high and above the majority of games out there. But despite the constant changes in games over the years, Red Dead Redemption 2 masterfully immerses you into a beautiful and stunning world, one that makes you truly a part of the world around you, allows you to live the Western fantasy unadulterated by any outside factors. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a showcase in not just gaming, but in Rockstar's ability to continue pushing this medium forward, providing a level of immersion that is incomprehensible to most developers in the scene right now, as Rockstar has handcrafted every single component of Red Dead Redemption 2 to a minute detail that is unimaginable by individuals that don't make games like me. I don't really understand the complexity behind the worlds and characters that Rockstar has created, or the mechanics or little details sprinkled throughout this journey that is monumental in building an experience that is a masterclass of immersion. I feel like I have stepped into worlds and places as immersive as Red Dead Redemption 2, and this was most apparent in a game like Cyberpunk 2077. The world of Night City is as beautiful as Red Dead Redemption 2 in its own way, and its immersion into the brooding world of crime that is prevalent within the game is fascinating by all metrics. But something was always missing. These games just couldn't ever go toe to toe with Red Dead Redemption 2, despite the fact that in a graphical lens in terms of technology, such as ray tracing and fidelity options, Red Dead Redemption 2 was surely outclassed. But Red Dead Redemption 2 remains triumphant because of how the little details build together to create something truly breathtaking. The first time I realized that there was unique skinning animations for a variety of different animals in the game, or the way that fishing could genuinely be used as an activity to calm yourself within the game, was mind-blowing to me. This continuously compounded on me as mechanics such as taking care of your horse, needing to tidy up after a savage battle in a mudland, or antagonizing a random stranger on the street relayed to me how special this game truly was. But this never seemed to be the end of how immersive Red Dead Redemption 2 really is. I remember trudging through a random forest in the game and suddenly saw animals hunting each other as prey fell to predator, or the first time I was walking around Valentine and saw a house progressively get built every time I went there. Then you find out that there's over 500,000 lines of dialogue in the game, and you think to yourself, Rockstar truly are crazy. But without these lines, without these details, Red Dead Redemption 2 truly wouldn't be the game it is today. There is just so much packed into Red Dead Redemption 2, and how this adds to the prevalent immersion of a game that will be 6 years old later this year, that it is hard to explain in words how every little detail piles up to allow you to truly breathe and die in this world. Sitting and gazing at a campfire that you set up, cooking the meat that you hunted throughout the day, was an experience that was as eye-opening as realizing that Arthur was constantly jotting down everything in his surroundings and the circumstances experiences of his life in a journal of which I didn't even think you could open until much later. Other games may have you walk into a gun store and enter a digital landscape where you can quickly purchase items, but Red Dead Redemption 2 tramples all of that in its authenticity as you open a proper and physical book, slowly browsing through the wares of that particular gun store as the clerk chit-chats with you as you discover what you want. Another thing that amazed me was the first time I shot a clerk in the face, and when I eventually returned, seeing him covered in bandages from head to toe amazed me, and the fact that he remembered my actions even more so. It is surely obvious that Red Dead Redemption 2 still, to this day, remains unmatched by any other game in its genre or in the landscape of games as a whole in terms of its pure level of immersion and its ability to allow you to live in the Western fantasy so beautifully captured. Red Dead Redemption 2's immersion level is surely helped by the fact that it retains one of the most stunning, haunting, and gigantic open worlds to date. It's not a gigantic open world in the traditional sense, where markers flood your map or you must capture outposts and whatever else to claim a fast travel point, but instead it's an open world filled to the brim with a level of detail that is unparalleled by anything else in the open world genre. Still to this day, there remains no game that can match the open world spectacle of Red Dead Redemption 2 and the gratification received in roaming its various landscapes, which are also so diversified and vibrant, trekking from the grasslands of Valentine and its surroundings to the urban scape of Saint Denis to the snowy mountains that the gang so quickly tried to run away from at the start of the game. Red Dead Redemption 2 is the epitome of the perfect open world. This isn't only in the detail of the game's landscapes, its people, and the interactions you have with them, but this is in the way that the world around you truly makes you feel a part of it, but at the same time makes you feel meaningless in a quest that is absolutely hopeless. Many open worlds out there today also help you feel a part of a larger world and immerse you into their spectacle with brilliance, but something that Red Dead Redemption 2 does so perfectly is how Arthur doesn't feel like a folk hero or a legend in the western lands of the game, rather a simple man that will vanish in reputation and in name as soon as all those that knew him perish. Arthur feels like a small and almost meaningless person in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, which is especially obvious when you enter the regions of Saint Denis or scavenge around the game's snowy areas. Arthur might be able to take down hundreds of men on his very own, but at the end of the day, the game reminds you that you're truly nothing but a dot in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2, that you shall perish like everyone else around you, and that there's no larger legacy or mission that you're trying to achieve. Arthur himself is often aware of this, which makes the world of Red Dead Redemption 2 that much better. It feels like almost every 30 seconds in roaming on your horse in the open world of Red Dead Redemption 2, no matter where you are on the map, you'll be distracted by something small or something large, a person, an animal, a sign. There's always something to be alerted of as you ride through this gigantic open world setting. I vividly remember just riding my horse and running into a man with a large camera set up in the middle of the forest, taking pictures of the surrounding wildlife. Of course I was intrigued and got off my horse to see what it was all about. Realizing that this would lead me to a multi-part stranger mission was crazy to me. It's not like this person was so obviously in your face, and I don't think every person playing through the game would even experience this or many other stranger missions that the game has to offer on their first playthrough. And I think that's what amazes me most about what Rockstar has done with this open world. They've created a world that is surely huge, but every little speck of this world is littered with details and quality missions and people to interact with. It's absurd that a game can offer this much detail and content in one singular package, especially on old-gen console firmware. It is hard to truly get into the brunt of what this world offers, but on almost every single aspect of a good open world, Red Dead Redemption 2 not only exceeds them, but sets a new benchmark for every other developer that to me hasn't been surpassed since the game's release. And I don't blame any of these developers, as who other than Rockstar can really create an open world filled with so many little details, big details, people, missions, interactions, all into a singular package that often seems like magic to me. Whereas many other components of Red Dead Redemption 2 truly do resonate with me on a great level, there's just nothing like the quality and quantity of Red Dead Redemption 2's story and characters. I have played through so many games since then, and there's just a handful of games that I feel like even put a dent on how good the characters and story of Red Dead Redemption 2 are. Rockstar truly put everything that they learnt from over 20 years of game development into the story of this game, and it has paid off big time, as the story, world and characters of Red Dead Redemption 2 remain in a league of their own and are so mesmerizing and so well done on every metric and scale. The tale of the Van der Linde gang is one that I still vividly remember, despite not really having played much of the game since my first initial playthrough, and I think that's just a testament to the quality of the story and its characters throughout the entire 60-hour journey of the game. This is reverberated by many of the side characters and people that you interact with, such as other members of the gang in Dutch Van der Linde himself, John Marston, and other characters such as Hosea, Sadie, Lenny, and Javier. The cast of this game is quite wide and vast, but every character is fitted with the same level of detail that is present in all of the game's other qualities and components. But not just the side characters add to the prowess of the game's cohesive and well-paced plot, but rather it's the protagonist, Arthur Morgan, who glues every component of the game into one conclusive package that is unlike anything you have ever experienced before. I may be of the less popular opinion that John Marston is the better protagonist, especially after playing Red Dead Redemption 1, but this can often change when I once again realize how well written Arthur is on every level. He is easily the most human protagonist I have ever encountered in any entertainment form or medium, and his constant development throughout the main story and through his interactions with the people of the western landscapes he traverses upon is absolutely mind-blowing in every department. Still, to this day, I have never seen a character so well written throughout an entire 60-hour journey, but this level of quality in writing isn't only preserved for the handcrafted moments of the game's main campaign, but this is carried over to Arthur's interactions with other people and the countless other stranger missions you can encounter while traversing around the Wild West. Arthur's interactions with other gang members is one of the most fascinating components in the entire game, as the main story constantly relays to you the fact that Arthur's family is this very gang. Arthur has not known anything else his entire life, and he has pledged his entire life to preserve the sanctity of this very family. Arthur's character is purported by his connection to this gang above all else, and his admiration and compassion for every single one of its inhabitants, both old and new, is one of the most astonishing aspects of the game's story that isn't always directly correlated in the game's main campaign, but rather engaging in conversation within the camp. I truly do think that the camp interactions within the game, of which there are countless of them, add to Arthur's character in a tremendous way, and provides us with a method of learning more about the hardened cowboy who eventually is turned soft by an illness that makes him realize the errors of his ways. Arthur and Dutch's son and father bond is slowly distorted throughout the campaign, as Dutch becomes consistently more irrational to a point where Arthur no longer knows him or understands him like the father he once did. The death of several gang members was as heartbreaking as it was impactful, as Rockstar doesn't pull any punches with how they will utilize every string of a player's emotions to bring forth a story that is an art piece in the manner it is presented. I think it is the fact that other characters in the game are also so well written and presented that it boosts the game's entire prowess within its story components. It isn't just Dutch who is so well written beyond belief, but in addition to this, characters such as Sadie Adler and John Marston himself provide a much needed antithesis to Arthur's conflict with his gang and the failing leadership of Dutch Van der Linde. Arthur's continually growing connection to these characters provides us with a new insight into Arthur's compassion and appreciation of others. Whereas at the very start of the game, Arthur may wield a sense of resentment towards John, by the end, all Arthur strives for is John's survival. It is stark turnarounds like this in Arthur's character that provides players with a story so beautiful and haunting at the same time, but his development never feels rushed or forced. Rather, it's a natural progression of events that leads to a renewal of his motivations and his purpose in life. But all of Arthur's major developments come from the source of an illness he contracts in tuberculosis, which makes him see the world in a much different way than before. As Arthur says, he's been a bad man his entire life, but the illness, in an almost ironic way, provides a way out of that, a way to innately redeem himself and create a legacy of which will be remembered by those he interacted with and helped. At the beginning of this roller coaster of a journey, Arthur doesn't pull his punches, and the notion of mercy never crosses his mind, because to him everything was for the betterment of the gang he rode with, and anything less for them would be detrimental to his mission of preserving their happiness and comfort. But as gang member after gang member falls after the mistakes and mismanagement of Dutch Vanderlyn and his spiral into insanity, it seems irrational to keep following the patterns of his previous life despite the fact that it is all he knows. It takes a lot out of Arthur to adjust to a new life, not filled with crime, but rather compassion and a mission that is completely selfless in every aspect. Arthur's gradual concern for Marston's family is one of the most touching components of the game's story, and how his illness turns to a blessing is something only Rockstar could have written with so much prowess and quality among every step. Because even as the game trudges into its 50th hour, the story of Arthur Morgan never ceases to amaze in its quality. Although some of this perceived quality might be less noticeable in the game's short yet impactful epilogue sequence, once again being put into the shoes of John Marston and his last few ventures of crime before his settling down as seen in the first Red Dead Redemption was an amazing experience, and it becomes obvious why Arthur was so focused on saving John's family above all else. Arthur's mention of his own son and wife, but his failure to protect them from harm's way, is a tragic tale of which reminds us that Arthur innately sees himself in John, and he wants for John what he couldn't have for himself, no matter how hard he tried. Arthur's journey is a long and depressing one, as is much of the game itself, but his story is also the story of redemption that leads into the tale of the first game's protagonist and the tragic story of the Vanderlyn gang as a whole. The story of Red Dead Redemption 2 will continue to resonate with me as long as possible, and I think that is reflective of the triumphant nature of the game itself and how Rockstar has created a game that is unlike anything else in the space, revolutionizing the gaming landscape with a game that just can't ever be replicated. Well, that's the end of the video. I've been wanting to make this video for a long time now and just finally got around to doing it, and honestly this is one of my favorite videos, and I really hoped you enjoyed it as well. I have a few other ideas for some Red Dead Redemption videos of which I might be working on, but for now I'll continue to push out reviews of games I've been playing and just some general video essays on other random gaming topics I can think of. Anyway, that's all from me for today's video. I really hope you did enjoy this video as much as I did making it, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
The building of a shrine, only just to burn. That's the way